What's good, everybody? It's your boy Dakota. I've just done so many takes of this video. You have no idea, but I'm just here to tell you thank you so much for supporting the show. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe to the channel, leave this video a little like, leave it a little comment. If you're an audio person, leave me a little 5 stars, maybe leave me a little review. Whatever you can manage, it all means a lot and it all helps. And go ahead and check out all the links I got in the description to support both myself and whoever the guest is this week. I always try to make sure that I leave links in the description so that you can follow the fighters once the show is debuted. And I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, welcome to episode 113 of the Slip and Weed podcast. I'm coming to you live from a very cold day here in the New York City area. My face is a little frozen, but I'm trying something different this week. All right, guys, I'm trying something different. There was a ProBox card last week, and I was lucky to interview two very talented fighters from that card, both of who kind of gave me my favorite experience in boxing, which you'll hear in the episode, which is not entirely knowing a fighter and then really being wowed by them. You know, finding that new talent for me is one of my favorite things in the sport. The card was last week. The main event featured Ramon Cardenas. He's the number 2 in the WBA down at, I believe, junior featherweight. But the undercard featured two very, very talented fighters, one being Rianna Rios, the other being Justin Pauldo, both with incredibly impressive wins. Justin able to completely dominate a former world champion in Shavkat Rakhimov. Just both really talented. And I interviewed them both in pretty quick succession. And I was going to have them be two separate episodes, but I didn't want to wait on one or the other. And so we've had multiple guests on the show before, but I've never put two separate interviews on the show before. So we're just going to give it a try. I hope you enjoy it. And here's part one with bantamweight prospect / contender Rianna Rios. How's it been since this last one on ProBox? Kind of assess your performance and how you felt you did on this one.
I think it was an overall good performance. I showcased a little bit of everything. I came out trying a little too hard, I think, to get her out of there. But overall, it was good. I did exactly what I needed to do, and that was put on a showcase and showcase my skills. And I think I did that overall. You know, I showed my inside game, my outside game, my ring IQ, a lot of different aspects of my boxing game was shown Saturday. So I was happy with how I performed. The little things I got to go back to the lab and correct, but overall it was good.
Is that the first fight you've had as a pro that was televised in some way?
No, my last one was on ProBox also. Um, I think yeah, my last one was on ProBox, and my pro debut was on a Golden Boy card on their YouTube page. So I've had a little bit of publicity, so it's good.
No, the only reason I ask is because when I saw you, I was like, how the fuck have I not seen this girl before? And I mean that because when you see a fighter that's really sharp, you have a really dynamic, composed offense. You do a lot of different things really well. So I'm watching you. I'm like, I watch a lot of boxing. How the fuck I ain't seen this girl yet? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just figured I'd ask, but I'm glad that that I'm late to the party, I guess.
Yeah, no, I haven't fought on I hadn't really fought on a card like Pro Box had. I was able to fight on the Lamont Roach Jr. card back in June. So I think that was kind of like my coming out party um, to be seen. So this one was another opportunity to showcase who I am and what I do, and I think we did that pretty well Saturday.
You definitely did. Where do you get that style from? Who are you working with? Like, where are you picking all this up from that you got such a complete style already?
I think it's just my experience. I was on Team USA. I have over 12, I think, national titles as an amateur. So I've been doing this for a really long time, and you pick up different styles. You work with different coaches. I've been blessed to work with great coaches. I'm part of the Team No Excuse Lamont Roach senior team. So I work alongside them pretty much every camp. So I'm surrounded by a bunch of killers. And I pick up from all of them. I'm working with Jeffrey Mays, Olympic coach here in Texas, here in San Antonio. So I'm surrounded by great coaches, great teammates, and I pick up little things from all of them. And I'm always trying to learn new things and do new things in the ring. And that's part of boxing, the IQ. You never stop learning. So definitely the experience and my team all around me.
Are you around right now for the tank camp?
No, I stayed back home just so I could focus a little more on my own necessities this camp. But I'm definitely going to be there uh, March 1st to watch Lamont shock the world.
Well, shit, I will probably be there as well. That's kind of in my neck of the woods in my neighborhood, so I'm excited that that fight's going to be coming here for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be an exciting night. I can't wait.
I know that there's not like a whole lot of people that are giving Lamont a real shot, but you've been around him, right? Like, what do you think of that fight? Because I know my issue with it is just that he's not in the same weight class, and Tank is constantly making guys come up. But in terms of his skills, like, how do you view that fight?
I think it's Lamont's coming out party. I think he's going to shock the world. A lot of people are doubting him. They just don't know him. They don't know what he's capable of, and he's a big 130 pounder. So I think he's gonna be the bigger man come March 1st, and it's gonna show. I think he's gonna showcase a lot of his skills and what he does. They call him the Reaper, so I think he's gonna show the world why they call him the Reaper.
What does he do in your mind that he really excels at, right? Because he's another one of those guys. He's a smart boxer, but he can get
Yeah,
on the inside. Like, what do you think is the thing that he has that Tank's not going to be able to deal
he's
with?
intelligent. He's intelligent. His defense is on point. His ring IQ is great. He could do it in the inside, the outside. Offense, defense. He's very smart in there and very technically sound, and he's an overall complete boxer. Like there's not just one specific thing. Like a lot of boxers are either a puncher or a boxer. I think Lamont does it all really well, and
Do
he's
you think
gonna
he's got
showcase
enough
that.
crack? Do you think he's got enough crack to get
Oh
Tank?
yeah, I think people sleep on his power too, and coming up, I think he's gonna showcase that power a little more too. So um, I'm rooting for Lamont. I think Lamont gonna pull it out. I know he's gonna shock the world March 1st.
That's gonna be a good one, man. Let's talk about your fucking power for a second because I could see you got some pop, right? Like I can see against I believe it was Nancy Franco was her name. It was like almost every time you're hitting her, you're hurting her. But what do you feel like you got to do to kind of get over the hump, get over the finish line on getting that stoppage? Because I felt like you were like right there for a couple of rounds.
I'd need 3 minute rounds. These 2 minute
Okay.
rounds are horrible.
Do
By
you
the time you
spar? Do
get
you spar two
going,
minute rounds?
yeah, by the time you get going, the bell rings.
Do
You
you
know?
spar 2 minute rounds?
No, I spar 3 minute rounds.
See, this is this
And
is this is interesting, right? Because I know a lot of female fighters, obviously on the conditioning level, the 3 rounds is no problem. But
yeah,
it's a different strategy.
it
You don't
is.
you don't have that 30 seconds to a minute to like, all right, what am I doing this round? You gotta be out there and you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I train, spar 3 minute rounds. That's just what I'm comfortable with. And that's what I like to do. Like I don't like to train 2 minute rounds. I don't like to spar 2 minute rounds until it's like the last week of sparring, just so I kind of get my timing down a little bit more. But I would much rather box 3 minute rounds. And I think I'd have a lot more knockout stoppages if I were going 3 minute rounds. Because if you watch the fight, every time I got her in a position to
Mhm.
let the referee step in and stop the fight, the bell rang. So I'm definitely the more rounds, the longer it goes, the more damage I do. So I would prefer to box 3-minute rounds. I think that would help a lot.
Well, and it's even just, even beyond like individual rounds, then when you got to maintain that for 3 minutes, of course, the other fighter has to maintain that too. So they're getting more tired. I,
Right.
I think it makes a lot of sense. The only counter argument that I've ever heard from female fighters and from coaches and whatever is they're like, I've had people say to me, I'm down to fight the 3-minute rounds, but I got to be getting paid like it.
No,
You
that too. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I would say, like, if I'm going to box 3-minute rounds, I should be getting paid like I'm boxing 3-minute rounds. I get it too. But at the same time, I'm trying to knock somebody out. The more time I get, the more high chance I have of getting them out of there. But it's definitely an argument that can be said.
But I get it. In terms of the competitive nature, I've yet to meet a female fighter that's like, I don't want to fight 3-minute rounds. You all want to fight 3-minute rounds. You're all very capable of doing it. And I think it's a sort of antiquated way of doing things. Even like in a title fight, 12 2-minute rounds is a great place to start. At least have the same number of rounds.
Right. Yeah. It's more, it gives us more time to showcase like who we are, what we can do as women too. And in the amateurs, we box 3-minute rounds.
Right.
So how does it go from 3 to 2 minutes? If anything, it should be the other way around. But you
Right.
know,
Exactly. The amateur fights really should be 2-minute rounds. And when you get to the pros, it should be threes like it is for everybody.
yes, but I mean, I guess they make their own rules.
It's just old school shit. I think that that's going to change. I think the fact that Amanda did a 3 12-minute round fight a couple years ago, I mean, there's isolated incidences of it
Yeah,
happening, but I think it's
there's
going to
been a
be,
few 3-minute bouts. So I'm sure in time it'll be across the board. Just got to keep
yeah.
advocating for it.
How do you stay engaged in a fight like that where you're so dominant, but you do have somebody in there who's thrown back that doesn't want it, that isn't going anywhere, basically,
Yeah.
unless you really force her. How do you stay switched on in a fight like that?
No, you just gotta stay disciplined. I know there was one time I got a little reckless trying to get her out of there. She caught me with a nice little, I think it was a right hand. So I was like, oh, okay, let me get back to being disciplined and doing the right things. But it's just being disciplined because everybody got a puncher's chance. It's the punch you don't see coming that typically is the one that puts you on your ass. So you just have to be mindful of that, be disciplined, and continue to listen and do what I'm told from the coaches.
Yeah, and as much as you're winning every second, it's like she would kind of throw like one of those weird veteran loopers that
Yeah,
that fighters like that know how to throw that, traditionally people don't throw those kind of punches, but they know how to hang around and stick around and keep it a little bit interesting.
yeah. She knew how to survive. She knew when to punch, when to hold, when to move. Um, she was a cagey veteran in there. She knew what she was doing. And every time I thought I was about to get her up out of there, she would throw that crazy right hand or crazy left hook. But we were prepared for that. We trained for that. We knew what she was coming with. So there was no surprises. It was just I had to be on my P's and Q's and showcase my defensive skills at also.
Are you like married to bantamweight? Is that like no, not at all.
No.
You're just taking what comes your way, right?
Yeah, I mean, there should be some good news soon. But we we're up down, staying at the same weight. I don't give a shit. Whatever comes first for a title shot, we'll take. Um,
What's the
I got.
range you're comfortable in?
I'm comfortable at whatever gets me a title. Whatever gets me a title,
Yeah.
that's my weight class. That's what I'm chasing. Whether it be at bantamweight, super flyweight, super bantamweight, I don't really care. We're gonna take the first title shot we get the opportunity to compete for. I got a hell of a team too. They're working hard to get me a title shot. So we'll see in the next month or so what comes our way.
Do you think you're closing in on that?
Oh, most definitely.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. We're almost there. I know it. I got the WBA international title, so that puts me in the top two, I think, right now in the WBA. So we're knocking on the door. We're just waiting for these mandatories to happen, so that way I could get my shot at whichever title comes first.
Who's the WBA champ right now at your weight?
Uh, what's her name?
Is it the
Sharika Johnson.
Janika Johnson. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
She got a mandatory with Nina Hughes. I think it's coming up soon. So I'm watching that one, and we'll see what happens after that one.
That was the one where they announced the wrong winner, right?
Yeah, yeah. They announced Nina, and then they gave it back to Johnson. Yeah.
That was
So
brutal.
yeah. So she deserved that rematch. She definitely deserved her rematch. So
That
uh,
was the most emotional roller coaster of a 4 seconds I've ever seen. That was
yeah,
crazy.
I'm sure it was like excited and then heartbreak all in the span of 5 seconds. So she definitely deserved that rematch, of course. So I'm just gonna sit and wait and see what happens after that one.
What do you think about Gabriela Fondora? Because I mean, she's really tall. It seems like it's only a matter of time before she moves up in weight. Is that a fight that you'd like to do at some point if the weight makes sense and the everything else makes sense?
I mean, if it makes sense, and she got a title, and I got a title, and we got to fight for it for sure. I ain't ducking no smoke, but I'm chasing titles. If she ain't got a title, I don't really care too much. You know, uh, I got bigger fish to fry. But if she moves up and has a title, why not?
Tell me a little bit more about like you as a person. I usually let people do the intros at the beginning. I did shit all backwards today. It's all
No, you're good.
all good. It is what it is. But tell me a little bit about you as a person, how you found boxing, and a little bit more about like your journey in the sport.
My dad boxed, so I grew up in the boxing gym. Picked up the sport around 10. I started taking it serious a little more when I was like 14, 15. I won my first national title. Um, Joined the army, boxed for the army. Did that for a few years. Traveled all around the world with Team USA. I think I had 12 national titles. Boxed at Worlds. Was seeded number one for the 2020 Olympic trials, but I turned pro right before the Olympic trials. Um, and then COVID happened. So that kind of slowed my professional career down a little
Sure.
bit. But everything happens for a reason, and we're here now. But yeah, that's me, man. I'm super chill, quiet. I don't I don't think people know I box until I say I box.
Yeah, no, and it
Yeah,
makes sense that you were a killer as an amateur. That doesn't surprise me at all.
yeah.
Where are
But
you from?
I'm from Texas. I'm originally from Alice, Texas, so a small town south, about an hour and a half away from the border. But I currently live in San Antonio, Texas. So I live and train here. I run a youth boxing program up here and coach on my downtime when I'm not in camp. So I do a lot of little different things, but that's me. I'm super chill, like
How's that
quiet.
for you? How's that for you wearing the different hats of going from fighter to coach?
Oh, it's taught me a lot, and I'll tell
Yeah.
you, coaching is harder than boxing. At like myself, you know. But I love it. I love helping the kids out in the gym. They give me something else to fight for. You know, I got to be on my P's and Q's when I'm in there training, and they're in there with me sometimes watching me. You know, they watch what I do, and then they want to do it too. So I got to be that role model and always doing the right thing, just because I know they're watching, and that kind of motivates me a little more in doing the right thing and making
Right.
sure I'm dotting my I's, crossing my T's when I'm in camp and stuff like that. So it helps. It really does help. And it keeps me active too. So I'm always in the gym. You know, I basically live in there.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard fighters say, sometimes when I have to coach, it's harder because when you're in the ring, you don't have to you're acting on instinct, you're acting on what you know, but then when you're watching someone else to communicate, you know what I'm saying, what you want them to do in a way that they understand, that's challenging.
Yeah. No, it's hard. And a lot of them don't learn the same.
No,
Like some of them
nobody
can,
does.
yeah, like you could tell, one of them you could tell, like, hey, throw a right hand, left hook. And they'll do it. And the other one, you'll tell them and they'll be like, what the hell is, like you'll have to show it to them multiple times. So it's, it's definitely been an experience for me, like sitting back and learning and coaching, and I think it's actually made me a better boxer too, because I'm learning and I'm having to like really focus on the fundamentals and things like that with them. So it kind of kicks back to me as a boxer, like I got to practice those good habits and those fundamental things too. So it kind of goes hand in hand, and it's helped me a lot. as a boxer too.
Because you have to also, when you're coaching, you're playing the mental chess all the time,
Right,
but you're just playing it for somebody else as opposed to yourself.
right. So I'm watching and telling them what to do, how to do it, when to do it. But it's also like it's like playing a video game.
Hmm.
It's like it's just like that. But sometimes it's a little nerve wracking because I can't get in there and do it for them. So it's been good. It's definitely been good and a learning experience for me.
You got any fighters you're working with that you're excited about right now?
Yeah, I have one. She actually made her pro debut on this ProBox card with me. So
That's amazing. Who was it?
yeah, Amanda Sandejo. She made her pro debut at 108. Um, so I'm really excited to watch her do her thing as a pro. I I took her to win her second national title this summer. So to watch her make that transition was exciting for me. I think I was more nervous watching her box than I was when I went up there. I was super excited for her, but um, she's one of the ones I think is going to be a world champion.
Do you think they listen to you a little more because you're still active? Like a lot of the fighters that do train other fighters, they're retired, right? But do you
Right.
think that they're hearing you a little better because you're in there doing it too?
I think so. And a lot of the times, like I'm in there training with them sometimes.
Yeah.
Like we go and do team runs together. Like I'm right there. A lot of the coaches are already retired. They're a little older, a little out of shape and things like that. So when you're actually right beside them doing the same things, they're like, damn, coach doing it. I got to pick it up or things like that. So I think it kind of pushes them too in a different aspect that like, damn, she's doing it. I really got to do it type of thing.
Right. You're setting a bar for them.
Yeah, right. I always say I lead by example. So I set the example, I set the standard and they follow.
What was it like boxing in the military? Because I remember the gym that I was in as a teenager and in my early 20s, we would go and get sparring at West Point sometimes. And I
Okay.
remember I would spar with some of those guys. It's like they weren't technically the best, but man, they were all in really good shape and they were just like physical in a way that I had days where I was like, I'm not trying to deal with this right now. I was hoping for something a little more light today. But
Yeah.
it forced me to really like, all right, I got to be on my P's and Q's. If I am, this will be fine. But I can't let these guys just like shove me around. Did you have that experience at all?
A little bit. I was in Fort Carson, Colorado at the World Class Athlete Program. So I was surrounded by a bunch of soldier athletes who were trying to make the Olympic team. So
Okay.
very high caliber boxers, very decorated amateurs. We were all trying to make the Olympic team. So we were training alongside each other. So definitely in a room full of killers and soldiers. They were soldiers. They wore that uniform too. So we pushed each other. It was some hard days, hard sparring, hard training, things like that. But um, it was definitely a great experience.
Did you get to watch any of any of the other fights on the card you were on?
I didn't. I watched clips. I did see Angeletti. I watched him, but the other ones I was in the back of in the dressing room with Amanda getting her ready because she was the last bout of the night.
The last bout, so the after TV
Yeah, she was after the TV card, so
or
we
the
were back
just in
there.
case, right? Like if there had been another knockout, they would have thrown her in or something.
Yeah, she was one of the swing bouts. So she went last, but I didn't get to really watch the other boxers on the card because of that, but I did watch Angeletti knock his opponent out.
If you get a chance, you should watch Justin Pauldo because he beat the shit out of Rakhimov,
No,
and
I seen him in the back on the stretcher. I was like, "Oh shit," like
that
that's pretty scary.
that was a serious fucking knockout. And he's got a style a little bit similar to yours, where he's really good in that mid range. He knows that because you had that way you kind of rock back, you know how to take the half a step back, but you're still in punching range. He does a lot of the similar things that you do. So I didn't know if you got to see him, but he was phenomenal as well.
Damn. No, I didn't get to see him, but I did see the knockout, and I already saw the other dude in the stretch on the stretcher. But yeah, that was pretty scary.
Was a former world champion. He was doing that too.
Yeah, that's crazy, crazy
Uh,
sport.
It's a rough game, man. It's a
Yeah,
rough game. I
yeah,
just That's always why I address fighters a certain kind of way because the stakes of what you're doing are just they're just different.
yeah. You never know. Never know.
But have you seen Keyshawn fight at all?
Yeah, I seen him. I mean, I was at the OTC with him when we were in the amateurs. I've been around him. Very smart ring IQ. He's sharp. He showed that his last performance. He's sharp. Everything.
Yeah.
Defense, offense, his feet, always in position to punch or move or be on the defensive end. But he's a sharp 135 pounder.
He's real sharp. Again, that's another guy who's a little bit like you, being able to be in that mid range and still be aggressive, but not be taking a whole lot in return. There's a couple of really good young fighters that are really good at that right now.
Just with his style, his ability to do it all. Um, I don't really see anybody beating Keyshawn. I don't think right now at the level he's at right now. Um,
Definitely not at 135. Like obviously there's Shakur and there's Tank, right? So those are the other big fights. But man, he's right there, and anybody else, it's like I feel like he's smoking him for the most part.
at 135 right now, yeah. Um, those are three top until Lamont wins March 1st. Then I guess we'll see if he's going to stay at 135 or move back down to 130. But right now, at this time, it's Keyshawn, Shakur.
Yeah.
You're going to throw Lamont's name in there too after March 1st.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to that. That would really shake up the entire sport too, because like having a superstar like Tank that just never fights, it's not great for boxing, man. Like when the top pound for pound fighters fight every 16 months, like it's not good for the sport.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more of a business now, you know. It's not like back then when everyone was just fighting everybody.
I think it's a business here. It feels like when you go overseas, right? And it's like it didn't take Better Beav and Beevil long to get a contract going.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And
that's
they're
gonna
the
be
two
another
best.
good one.
And they're the two best at their weight, but it's like we got to listen to Shakur and Tank talk shit on Twitter for 9 years before they, look at a contract.
That's true. That's true. I guess we're just so set on keeping that O, you know. Or it's like if I may lose my O, I better get paid to lose my O, you know. So there's different reasons, I guess, for kind of holding on to your O here in the States.
Well, and it's almost like an insecurity because it's like, and I don't think a lot of fighters would articulate it that way, but when I think about like, I don't think Usyk is worried about losing his O, but he still got it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well, I
mean?
mean,
Like,
he fought Tyson Fury.
right.
He didn't care about that. Oh,
And he doesn't. I still don't think he cares, but he still got it. And the reason he still got it is because he doesn't care.
right.
You know what I mean? He knows he's the best because he is the best. And I think sometimes just showing and proving that, and this is really more directed at Tank, it's like, bro, I gotta see more often. I gotta see fights that matter. I don't care about the internet. I'm a 32-year-old man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not interesting to me to
Yeah.
for American fighters to like beef on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, it's something to laugh at, but at the same time, it's like just fight. But
Yeah, just fight.
yeah.
And if anything, too, in the States, the ladies do a better job of that.
Oh yeah. Definitely, they'll call each other out, and then they're fighting the next month. You know, so or they have a contract already in
There's
place.
less of that let it marinate. It's like, no, this is a good fight right now. Let's make it happen. And that's what Katie and Amanda did, Clarissa and Savannah. It's just more common.
Yeah. I mean, it's and another reason is we don't give a shit. The women, we don't care. We like it doesn't matter. We just want to prove what we can do and what we're capable of. I think men is a little different.
And maybe they have a couple more opportunities getting thrown their way where they feel like, oh, I can be choosy. You
Right.
know,
They have
I-
options. We don't have too many options. There's not hundreds of us in a weight division, you know. There's our options are very limited. So when you do get them high class boxers who want to rumble, it's like, oh well, let's go, you know. Like there's not too many options per weight class. Like you see a lot of them, a lot of us women have to move up and down. skip a few weight classes to make these good fights. Like Serrano just did it with Katie Taylor, um, to make these great matches. So I think that's another reason too. Like we're jumping weight classes up and down, and we don't really care as long as we're putting on a great show.
Yeah, the change in weight classes is definitely a much different thing. That's also why I asked you about your weight class. And like perfect example, my friend Shadeja Green, when she was a D1 basketball player. She was like got invited to a WNBA summer camp and all. Like she was high level hooper, but she was 230 pounds. She's a big girl. And when you get into boxing, it's like there's no one that's 230 pounds. And she was 230 in shape. And then
Yeah,
it's like, but who are you going to fight at that weight? So she's got to boil herself down to 168, just to be relevant in the sport. And
yeah.
that's just not easy.
No, it's hard, and a lot of women have to do it. They have to gain weight, lose weight, just to get these opportunities for these big cards or big notable fights. And Clarissa Shields is doing it, like undisputed at I don't know how many weight classes now. Like I can't keep count, but she has to do it to keep being relevant and keep getting these fights. Her and Danielle just fought not too long ago, so um, it's crazy. It's a lot harder for women, I think. That's why
I
they
think,
that's why they jump on the opportunity when they get it.
right. Because if you say no, who knows if it's looping back to you?
Right. You never know. Like that could be your only chance to showcase who and what you are. So I think that's why we don't care too much either. We'll take what we can get.
Also, it's so tough for her because I feel like for female fighters, it actually gets a little harder the bigger you get, right?
Yep.
If when you go down to your weight, there's probably 10 legitimately interesting opponents and champions for you, that boxing fans will know a little bit about. For somebody like Clarissa, she's starting to almost run out of options in terms
Yeah.
of, and she's got one or two interesting fights to make, but other than that, she's got to take on this girl that's like 6 feet tall and 180 pounds, and she's got to get creative with how she puts on a show.
Yeah. I think after like 154, maybe it starts to get a little difficult. Like I think she's gonna run it back, I'm sure, at some point with Franchon Cruz, just because that's a good fight to see again. But like them two, they were high level amateurs, competed. Clarissa Shields, Olympic gold medalist. Franchon Cruz, I'm sure, had medals at Worlds and things like that, and they fought pro debuts against each other. So that just kind of tells you, what they have to do in those heavier weight classes as women. Like you don't have options.
Exactly. So what you got coming next? Are you allowed to say? You said you got some good news coming up. Are we allowed to talk about that good news here? What's the deal?
Um, Good news is I'm gonna stay really busy this year. That's the
Love
good
that.
news. I'm gonna be really active. I wasn't too active last year. I fought once. Um, so we're gonna be really busy. I should be boxing midsummer again. So hopefully we get three to four in this year. But I'm gonna be really active this year, and we should have a title shot at by the end of the year.
That's a beautiful thing. What happened last year? Was it was tough to get opponents?
Um, Not really. I We waited for the ProBox card to be uh in DC. So it was scheduled in June. So we did that one, and then I took some time off just to let my body recover a little bit because it was a long camp. And then we were gonna go at the end of the year last year in December, but they pushed my date back to last weekend. So we just waited a little bit for that one, so that way I could box here at home. But we're just being patient, really. We're not just jumping on any opportunity. I have a hell of a manager in Lamont Roach Sr. We're just waiting on that title shot too. We got the WBA international title in June, so we were hoping we would be a mandatory.
Will it be Pro Box?
More than likely, more
Great.
than likely. But if
It's
we
a
get
great
another
platform.
opportunity, we'll take it.
Well, definitely keep me up to date. When you got fights coming up, I would love to have you back on anytime you want to come back on. One of my favorite things in boxing is when I see a fighter that I don't know at all that kind of wows me. And I had that experience watching you, and I look forward to seeing what comes next for you.
But thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, that was Rianna Rios. Really excited to see what comes next for her, man. And if I didn't say it in the first part, I'm going to leave the link to the first fight card because, of course, ProBox is really great about leaving the fights and streaming the fights on YouTube. So I'm going to leave that link down below so you can watch Rihanna, and hopefully you'll watch the guests in this next part too. Justin Pauldo again coming off an incredible win over Shavkat Rakhimov, extremely dominant. So I also put at the beginning that this was going to be episode 14. Not for nothing, just because I thought it was going to be two separate episodes. Um, but without further ado, here's part two with Justin Pauldo. All right, welcome to episode 114 of the Slip and Weed podcast. I'm here this week with Justin Pauldo, lightweight contender, who's coming off what I would call a sensational win over Shavkat Rakhimov. Champ, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely. Do me a favor, just real quick. Introduce yourself. Let the people know a little bit about you, who you are, your career, all those things.
17-2, 9 knockouts, lightweight contender Justin Pauldo. You know, fighting out of Orlando, Florida, training in Houston, Texas, and I'm here to make a big splash in the lightweight division.
According to BoxRec, you're 18-2.
18-2. Oh my God, I see. It's happening fast. So,
You got to give yourself the full credit, bro.
yes, sir. 18-2, 9 knockouts. Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the Rakhimov fight for a second. That was really I wasn't sure what to make of that fight. It felt like a real 50-50. And you came out, man, and you gave him the Mayweather Gotti treatment. I mean, you really just you showed to be a whole different level. Just assess your performance for me.
Well, I think it was a good performance. It's a lot more I have to show, and it's a lot more I can do. So I prepared well for the fight. I had a great game plan, and I went out and I executed it, and I dominated.
Can we talk about that game plan for a minute? Because in watching the fight, it was like it wasn't like you were up on your toes moving around a bunch, right? You're right there in front of him, looking to exchange, and yet he wasn't really able to get anything going on you. He couldn't get his feet right. You constantly had him turning. Just talk about what your strategy was going into the fight, because to me, what was most impressive was you being right there in the pocket. You were swimming without getting wet the whole time.
Yes, sir. Well, I knew I would be the more bigger and physically stronger guy. So, and I also knew I was quicker. So I figured I could stay right there in front of him, and I got the good eyes. I would be able to hit him and not be hit back. So, really just wanted to impose my will on him, keep the jab busy, and let my hands go.
Well, it was a beautifully executed game plan. So going into this fight, right? You had like a year and change, maybe a year off.
Yeah, just about a year. I think I fought like last February 28th, something like around there. Last February 20 something.
So how have you spent the last year leading up to this fight? And then what maybe were some of the differences for you between this fight and the fight with Miguel Madueña, which I think, to be honest, was the only other time that I've seen you fight. And so going into this one, I'm like, all right, it's a 50. I knew you were good, but I didn't really know just how good you could be.
Yes, sir.
And then coming in and dominating this one.
Well, the year I was in the gym, just perfecting my craft, trying to get better, and just working on all the things that need to be worked on. Like boxing, it's a daily grind. You always can keep getting better. So really, just going into this fight, I was just focusing. I was at 100%, I believe.
Because and I know that sparring and training it is what can keep you sharp, but sometimes not having that in ring, like he also had some time off, and clearly it didn't affect him in the same way. So that's why I figured I'd ask, like, what do you spend in the year doing? Um, you're in a pretty stacked division right now. And when
Yeah.
I'm watching this fight, I'm like, well, there's another interesting one to throw right into the mix. You know what I mean? There was some great lightweight fights this weekend. Um, do you have anything lined up, or do you have a sense of what you would like to do next?
Well, it's just I'm just looking upwards. I want the guys who are ahead of me. Those are guys I'm trying to get at. So it's just to continue move forward, continue to build on that great win, and continue to go out and put on more dominating performances, no matter who in front of me.
Well, hopefully we don't have to wait a whole year to see it again, because
Sure.
that was tremendous.
Yes, sir. I plan on staying busy, and I think that's one of the main things with seeing the best of me. You'll see the better of me. The more I'm busy, the more I'm in the ring, and I'm just gonna keep building.
But did you have any injuries, or like why were you off for a year? Was it just
I
tough
had,
for
I
you to
had,
get
I
dates?
had small hand injuries or whatnot, and then just this was the perfect opportunity that came along to get me back in the ring, and I'm back and I'm 100% now.
I guess one thing I'd like to ask you, do you have any thoughts on Keyshawn Davis's performance this weekend against Dennis Baranchik? I don't know if you got to see it, but it was another guy who's kind of like becoming a star of your
Yes.
weight class.
Yeah, he went out and done what he's supposed to do. He done a great job, performed well, and he got the stoppage. And that's a great fight for me down the line too. A great fight that I'm trying to get. You know, he's one of the champions. So all I gotta do is just keep building. I need to keep winning, and those are fights that I can have.
You're a super smart fighter. I know it's probably never going to happen, but how do you think a fight between Keyshawn and Shakur would wind up playing out?
Well, that'd be a crazy boxing match.
Right?
Keyshawn may be a little stronger guy, but it'll be a battle of two guys who know how to control distance very well. Guys who can really control that. And I don't know, man. That'd be a great fight. I never really thought about that. Put too much thought into that fight. So
I know, and I've heard, they've said on ESPN last night, and I've heard different
yeah,
people say, they're close, and so that fight is probably never going to happen. But to be honest with you, it's like it doesn't really get much better than that to me.
yeah, that's an excellent fight for sure.
Do you have any thoughts on Tank versus Lamont Roach? I know, obviously, Roach coming up from 130 is a whole different thing. Rakhimov was coming up from 130 to fight you. That is kind of one of those weird weight jumps. But do you have any thoughts on that one?
Not too much, but I think it's going to be a pretty interesting fight, being that they got a lot of history. Them guys know each other. Um, Tank's not the biggest 135, so I don't really see the size being any advantage or whatnot. But that fight might be better than a lot of people are expecting it to be.
Um, the last upcoming or recent fight that I wanted to ask you about, great young fighter named Abdullah Mason, who I'm
Yeah.
sure you're aware of, fought on ESPN the other day. He's he's really progressing really quickly. But one thing I wanted to ask, because I know you went pro pretty young yourself. And
Yes.
so for some of you guys that turn pro, when you're a teenager, very early 20s, there's a lot of expectations of what you're going to do like right out of the gate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And for you, you've obviously gotten better as your career has gone along. Do you have like any advice to Abdullah or younger fighters about, there's a lot of pressure on you right at the beginning, but how to maintain that longevity, and keep getting better?
Well, to any young fighter, I would just say remain focused, stay dedicated to your craft, stay in the gym, and don't get caught up with none of the stuff that's outside of the ring. It's all about what you do inside the ring, and as long as you stay focused and you continue to get better at your craft, everything else will come.
Do you have any sense of when you'll be back?
I think I'll be back by summer. Hopefully, that's what I'm looking forward to do. I think the more fights I have, the more people know my name, and so I'm going to go out and keep putting on dominating performances and impressive showings. And I want to become a household name in the sport.
Justin, what's your why as a fighter? Every fighter has their why, like what they're fighting for, who they're fighting for, what their motivation is. What's your why?
Well, I got a son, so that's mainly my why. That's what I do it for. I want to just show him that anything is possible. You put your mind on something, you chase your dreams, you can accomplish anything with hard work and focus and prayer. And also just showing the younger generation, the guys where I come from. I got into a lot of things coming up as a kid, a lot of trouble and stuff. So I want to just show those same kids that there's ways out. You do right and you focus, and whatever you put your mind to, you can do it, man. It's more than just the streets and stuff. So that's my why.
That's the beautiful thing about boxing, right? It's a lot of people climbed up out the gutter
Yeah,
because of boxing. You know what I mean?
yeah. Boxing really saved me. So even though I was doing it since I was a kid all my life, I got sidetracked a little bit. And when I got back to it, it saved me, changed my life. So,
Are you somebody who watches a lot of film and follows the game and all that?
well, oh yeah, I follow the game extremely strong. I watch all the guys, the young guys coming up. I watch any boxing that's on. I watch it. So that's like my main thing to do is watch boxing and basketball. That's about it.
Do you have an opinion on what happened with? Did you watch Jared Anderson last night?
Yeah, I seen some of the fight.
What I struggled because it's like, I always try to give fighters grace, right? It takes a lot of balls to do what you guys do, but it felt like anytime Prentice was like giving him something to do, he was like, man, I don't want to do that. It was like he's giving him advice. He's like, man, this guy's tough. I don't want to go 10. and he's telling him go to the body, and he's like, man, I hate hitting elbows. And it was just like, it just seemed like he was so disinterested in being there. Like, as a fighter, how do you perceive that?
First off, I think Jersey is he's a great young fighter, very
He's
talented.
incredible.
Yeah, talented fighter. But maybe just focus. I think it was maybe just a lack of focus. He just got to get back focused. Um, keep his head in the game, and he should be fine.
I think he will be too. I think for me, what I found troubling about it is it's like the ability, the talent, like all that's so
Yeah,
obvious, right? It's right there in front of you. But then when I see somebody who looks like they really don't want to be there, like there's people that would kill for his ability and
yeah,
his opportunities. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
and a lot of guys who deserve it that don't get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people always wishing they had your spot. So you gotta just take full advantage of every opportunity you get. That's for all of us fighters.
Who are you getting to spar with leading into this one? Because I know you're working with Ronnie Shields. I'm sure you have access to a ton
Yeah,
of guys, but who are some of the guys that helped you get ready?
it was just like some young guys from right here in Houston. One local guy named Santana Draper. He's a 140 pounder coming up. He gave me real great work. Young, fast guy. So I really appreciate him for the work he gave me.
Would you ever consider a move up to 140?
Absolutely, yeah, it's gonna happen. But I want my title shot at 135 first. That's the division I've been at my whole career. So I want to get what was due to me in this weight class first.
Well, Justin, I love moments in boxing where I get to see somebody and I see something I don't expect. And you gave
Yeah.
us that the other night. So I really appreciate that. And I congratulate you for that. And I look forward to seeing you fight again. Is there anybody, anything, anyone you want to shout out before we wrap it up?
Well, I always just want to give thanks to my team, my management company, Fighters First, and thank you, ProBox, for the opportunity. I just tell all the fans just continue to watch me grow, follow my career, and I'll be at the top soon.
Well, to all the fight heads, and I know that's really who watches this show. This
Yeah,
is a guy to watch right here. I promise you. You're going to see him on some bigger platforms in the next couple of years. I really believe that. Justin, I really appreciate your time, bro. Thank you for coming on today.
yes, thank you for having me.